Received several questions this past week about your thoughts on the Ultimate Warrior's 1996 run. Let me read one of them. This was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Andrew. Do you think, regardless of personal feelings towards the Ultimate Warrior, that his match against Triple H at WrestleMania, Ultimate Warrior treated Triple H like a jobber?
Oh, that's the end of the question?
There's a little bit more here, but it's a weirdly written question. But what are your memories of Warrior Triple H match and just that time period with the Ultimate Warrior?
I hated it. Here was the thing. I had just started on the creative team for the WWF, not really out of choice, but necessity, since I just closed Smoky Mountain down. And so and moved to Connecticut, so there's an adjustment period that needs to be fucking had here. And then I find out that my creative team is going to be responsible for booking the in my opinion, single worst heavily pushed wrestler of the modern era, the Ultimate Warrior. He was the epitome of everything I hated about cartoony 80s WWF, of steroid muscle guys over fucking guys that could work, and promo talents over incoherent rambling, and I'd always claimed that it was mass hypnosis is the only way that Vince McMahon was able to get this fucking guy over, even for a brief period of time. And now we got to book him again. And when I heard about it, I'm like, what the fuck? And that's when we had to go and fly out there on the way to WrestleMania. We stopped at in Phoenix to have lunch with the Ultimate Warrior, me and Bruce and JR and Vince, where he told us the whole Destrucity thing, destiny, truth, and city. I don't know what the fuck it was. And I thought he was a space cadet. I didn't understand a goddamn word he said. Bruce knew him, and Bruce had worked with him, and Bruce was just dying laughing, looking at me, trying to figure out what the fuck this guy's deal was. And then Triple H has told a story, and this is not a lie. He went in and said, okay, it was his job because Triple H was not a main event star then. He was a guy they wanted to push, and he would shoot himself in the foot on that with the curtain call, and his push would be delayed about a year, but he was a good young talent. And he went in saying, I'm supposed to do a job for the Ultimate Warrior, and, so I'm going to do the best of my ability to do that. And he hit Warrior with some things, whereas, no, this is what's going to be. You're going to get nothing. I'm going to beat you. He wouldn't work with him, even if it was not specifically booked that way for him to just emasculate Triple H. Triple H was his opponent, so he could get a win on pay-per-view and in a special attraction match. A returning legend beats some guy on the roster that's an upcoming star, but he's not a main event guy. It wasn't supposed to be a big draw match. The draw was the return of the Ultimate Warrior. But we didn't say, no, you need to fucking beat this guy with no offense and treat him like a piece of shit. That was the Ultimate Warrior, because that's what he did, because it was all about him. It wasn't even about the business. It was just about him, much less his opponent. He could give a shit. He never wanted to get any better. He never wanted to learn. He never wanted to take care of guys. He never wanted to have a good match. And he accomplished all of those things. Was anyone unhappy with that? I mean, the idea that the Warrior was the one deciding what he was going to do in the match as opposed to an agent or Vince or anyone else. Well, but that's what it was. Was anyone unhappy with the way Triple H was used there? Yes. And well, at that point, there was still agents to the matches because it was pay-per-view. And you would say, okay, I don't remember ever calling it should be over in a fucking minute and a half. So I think that was Warrior 2. I think we had originally it wasn't going to be a 20-minute fucking match. I've said the whole fucking rule of getting a guy over or getting a returning star over is don't have the best match you can have with everybody, but we certainly weren't going to beat the guy in fucking 90 seconds. It was going to be somewhat of a semblance of a match that the Warrior was going to win strongly, but I don't remember who the agent was. It was probably somebody like Jack Lanza. They probably would have given, or maybe it was Pat. They probably gave Warrior Pat because he could be the least abrasive. I feel like Jack Lanza probably told Warrior to jack off once or twice. But that's what it was. And I wasn't happy about it. Not that I was on the Triple H bandwagon at that point, but just because it was just fucking stupid. and just disrespectful. And I didn't like this guy anyway. And I didn't think that he should be back because I thought he was everything that was wrong with WWF wrestling of the 80s. And here we brought him back in the 90s. And I knew he was a troublemaker and I knew he was hard to get along with, even though I hadn't worked with him. And then I saw everything that I had heard about the guy come true. He was a pain in the ass and a space cadet, and they ended up having an acrimonious departure just a few months later.
Was anyone...
I was there, by the way. Do you know how the Ultimate Warrior sent the message to Vince McMahon that if you want to make up with me for this horrible thing you've done to me, you know what you can... And you know what the horrible thing was?
That he didn't buy his comic book? What?
No, hold on. You'll recall Warrior is at WrestleMania and he fucking squashes Triple H, and then I think he's around for the next month. And then going into the summer, he's replaced by Psycho Sid.
Yeah.
Because Warrior, they had the big toy convention in New York. And the WWF already had a booth and already was to be represented and had all the guys' logos and pictures and things, and they're on this nice professional booth and footage of them playing on the screens. Well, because Warrior had come back and signed after they built and arranged all this shit, they added him at the last minute. They put his fucking Warrior face paint eye thing on the side of the booth and with his phrase, always believe. So now the Warrior is represented at the WWF booth. Warrior found out about that and said, that's my trademark shit. And goddamn it, I'm not fucking coming back to work until you make me happy. And that's when he started no-showing. And then the way that they could make him happy was his new comic book that he had with some publisher was about to come out, and Vince could buy 1 million of those at $1 a piece, and that would make him happy. And Vince was disinclined to buy 1 million of the Ultimate Warrior's comic books at any price, and countered with, I believe that's when they said that we were going to prorate you your contract that you signed. He did the same thing with Sid at a later point. We're going to prorate your contract. When you show up, you get paid per however many dates or whatever the fuck. If you don't show up, you don't get paid. That was the cat. Then Warrior came back with, well, you don't understand. My father just died and I'm in such fucking horrible mental condition. And that was a kind of a sob story for a minute until I think it was Bruce that came up with the fact that Warrior himself had said he hated his father and they hadn't spoken in years. And then he never came back. And Vince never bought the comic books, and Sid replaced him in all the upcoming bookings. And that was the Ultimate Warrior. So all of that for naught. Who could have known? Don't deal with this fucking moron. It can't fucking work and is a piece of shit.
Was anything said to him when he stopped running to the ring and all of a sudden, I remember one time with Lawler, he wore a hat to the ring?
Truthfully, I was never his agent because they knew my feelings on him and I didn't know how to, I may have been good, but I wasn't a magician to get a fucking coherent goddamn match out of him at this point. I had registered the fact that I didn't think that the nostalgia, even in the WWF, was going to last that long. As nostalgia based on fond memories but no actual substance usually doesn't. So they never assigned me to work with him in any way, except I managed a group of heels against him in a match a time or two. So otherwise, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. I don't know what they were telling him to do. And I don't think anybody wanted to talk to me afterwards to dissect all the reasons why bringing the Ultimate Warrior in was a fucking huge mistake when they knew that I had not been a fan of it to begin with. Because that would have given me an opportunity to say, yep, and nod. I would have been nodding a lot.